Thank you for coming. It's really good to see a good turnout on a Friday night. So I've just put together a collection of my works and also works that have inspired me in my progress as an emerging / getting there established artist. And so I drove up today in the car and hearing the news that Jeffrey Smart passed away. And what a great artist. So, and a quote that was on the radio was, he said, people shouldn't read much into the work, just look at the work and appreciate it. So I love to look at art that way, but also for me, art is my outlet and my interest, and I really like to delve a bit deeper into society, and I do that through photography. And I started studying photography at the National Art School, and one of my teachers is here tonight, Ruby Davis, which is great, in 2004 to 2006. And I hadn't really experienced photography at high school. I went to a public school and we had a tiny little closet for a dark room, so there wasn't much happening there. So it wasn't until I went to uni that I sort of found my passion for photography. And one of the first artists I looked at was August Sander, a German photographer, who his first published book was called Face of Our Time. So he went into his own communities and photographed the people around him and travelled around with a big 8x10 camera, bulky ones back then, and just saw what was around him and shot some beautiful black and whites. And this is a travelling circus, and I feel he's not too much in the work and still letting the people be who they are, which was my real interest into that work. Then moving on to an American artist, Diane Arbus, from the 60s, 70s. She started off with her husband doing commercial photography, and I think she was the backup, styling the shots, and he was taking the shots, and then she started to develop her own practice and moved away from her husband, and brought out the quirkiness in people and took the photo at the right time that was of interest to her, and wandered the streets of New York with a camera, always with her. And she had a fascination for twins too. I don't know how she found these people, but she found them. A residency she did that I only read about a little while ago, not at art school. She went into a community of disabled kids, deaf and blind, and took photos of them interacting and out in the field. And I just really like the way she's let them present themselves how they are, just naturally, not forced, nothing. Almost the documentary style, but still with that stillness. A series that got me going on my first body of work was another American photographer, Tina Barney, and she's from the 90s, making work from the 90s, or 80s, 90s, still making work. And she started off with her family and friends, similar style to August Sander, working with a big, large format camera, and going into people's homes and setting them up with all their grandeur and, that more like I see these as paintings, big, old, paintings you'd see in the Louvre, and very decadent. And that was at her level of society. She had a way in. She was friends with these people, or she would know people who could get her into these houses and set up shops. And I love, it's just them probably getting ready for the shot, or maybe it's just them getting ready for the party. And just very natural, but quite removed from what anything we would probably see this high society. And this is one of my works. First body of work I made was called The Homemakers in 2006, and I'm so interested in people and what they do in their everyday lives. And so I used my family and friends. They were the easiest people to get in touch with and willing models. And so that's actually me on the bike. I'd had a knee operation, so I had to exercise a lot on the bike. And my boyfriend at the time in the background, he was awake and then he passed out. While waiting for me to hurry up and do the shot. But that was our life, you know. I always tried to clean that table up, but just cigarettes and Nintendo and chocolate and cordial and the Nurofen for the hangovers. So that was our little crowded little life. And my parents' friends, I sort of approach them and say, yeah, if we could do a shoot, don't really know what we want to do, but I love this area of your house, so let's set something up. And I ask them questions. What do you do on Sundays? You know, what's your favourite thing? And her name is Jill. She's a florist and painter, and there's lots going on in her little kitchen, and while her husband sits back and reads his book, and I just like the look of the book and his face and the quirky little teapot, sugar pot, or whatever is in that little left-hand corner. And I sort of say, look here, look there, but really don't try and direct them too much, and just find a shot that would look good. This is one of my other friends, this work called The Entertainers, and he put a pole in his room when pole dancing became into the domestic realm, and back in 2006, and he was really interested to watch his girlfriend, and she was willing to. She did the whole classes and everything, and I originally had him right forward in the shot as well, but it didn't quite work. So, and he did have porn magazines just lying around his room. So, and he had a beer because I was taking too long to set up the shot. So, he's just relaxing back, reading porn and drinking beer while she's strenuously holding a pose. And finally, my parents at their home. When I'd exhausted all my family and friends and pushed the point too much, they're like, we're over here photographing us. I started to look at other artists, or was introduced to other, mainly American artists again, which sadly, I don't know why it's always American, but it is. Catty Grannon, and she had a method of putting ads in local papers and putting a call out for models, which I found also could really work for me, because I still wanted to work in an area, and local papers are the most, I found at the time, to reach people with the most easiest way, to put an ad out, put a call out, and see who was responding, who wanted to model or who wants to be in front of the camera. So she does a similar method process, and she got quite a lot of people wanting to be nude or be in their underwear, and she'd take them to an area where it was near to her home and in the bush and take photos. Another American artist who collaborates with her subjects is Laurel Nakadade, and both her and Catty had studied at around the same time at Yale University, and one of their teachers was Gregory Crewson, who's a really well-known photographer. So they both came from similar teachings, and I think this is where I sort of catch on to understanding what I was interested in. What I'd been doing was the collaborative portrait, not totally having that idea, but getting to know people through photography and seeing why they want to be in front of the camera. And these days with Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, you can easily put photographs or images of yourself online and create your own personality or persona. And more people are wanting to being in front of the camera. I was on the bus the other day down George Street, and it was really early morning, cold, and he's got a big cookie in his mouth, probably for breakfast, and he's got his camera out and he's trying to take a photo while there's busy traffic going past. I'm like, who has time to do this? Or who's his audience? Why does he want to do this? And I think that's just the time that we're living in, and digital medium is so readily available. Everyone's got a camera on their phones. So what I liked about Laurel's work, and I'll come back to it later, I've got a video if it works, because most of hers are video works. She finds willing men to go back to their homes, and maybe they sing happy birthday, or they might draw her, or she asks them, what do you want to do? I want to make a video work. What do you want to do? And so she leaves it quite open. And some of it's quite scary, and I don't know how she does it, and I wouldn't want to do that, but that's her interest. And so then I did put that ad in the paper, in the local paper around my area, and I had people responding. I put an ad particularly for couples, because I was interested still at that time on the dynamics of couples. And I got quite a good response, which I was surprised. And this particular shot, Nina and Paul, I went to their house, met them, found out what actually they wanted to be like in the photograph. What do you want to get out of this? They were quite vague at the beginning, and then you get talking with them, and then I come back and do the shoot. And it turned out that he was more interested in taking photos of his wife than me taking photos of him. So it's this push and pull where you draw that out of them. Maybe they don't say it straight away. Some of them, say what they want or whatever. And so, it's the dynamics of him directing her and me directing them. And I was quite happy with that shoot, and they were quite happy with the result. Another couple, the dog kept jumping up on the couch and couldn't keep the dog out, and the dog was very much part of their life. They were newly married, and their apartment was really, really clean. Another couple, she approached me, and I think the boyfriend was dragged along, but she wants to be a model. And I get a lot of girls wanting to be models, and that's what photography is about too. And I'm interested in, giving them the works too if they want it, if that's for their portfolio, and I want them to get as much out of it as I do and be happy with the result. I think he got quite bored with the shoot and just laid back. Another image of mine, she's an ex-model, so she had stopped modelling. I think she said she modelled with Caroline Byrne, the lady who was tragically killed in a big court case, but she told me all that straight up, and you get sort of snippets of their life, and he was not so keen on being photographed, but in the end she said, well, it's going to work if you take your shirt off. I really like your hairy back, and I think this will work. Another girl, she's a ballerina, a professional ballerina, and it's usually they're happy just to do a shoot in their homes, or I can go to a studio or whatever. I leave it totally up to them what they feel comfortable with doing. This was a really scary, interesting shoot. His first email to me was, I want to do a shoot with a large woman because I'm a large man. And I said, well, I'm just doing singles at the moment. And I turned up to his house, and I was, a little bit nervous, so my boyfriend's downstairs, or he brought my gear up and then said, I'll wait outside. And he had no furniture in his apartment. There was nothing. You can see in the back there's the milk out of the fridge. There is no fridge. His girlfriend apparently had stolen all his belongings, but she left him this pink hat. So that was a very bizarre story to his life, and I take that on, and and I set up the shot, and he just started to perform, and he knew exactly what he wanted to do, and he jumped up on the kitchen bench, taking his pants off. Another woman, she had quite really short hair, but she wanted long hair for the shoot, so she went out and bought a wig. And this is shot in Parramatta in a park. And yeah, I think that staring down the line at me was quite... I was happy with the shoot. She didn't want the print in the end. She just wanted to be part of the photo shoot, which was interesting. So you get some who do want the photograph, but also the experience of being in front of the camera. This was another girl, sort of a rockabilly girl, out at Campbelltown. And then I got to do a residency in the Sutherland Shire in Sydney, and do a series on couples out there. And I did the same sort of process, put an ad out, and went to a lot of homes in the Shire. And I don't know if everyone knows the Shire, but it's a little pocket of Sydney that's had a bit of bad history, and the riots were there, and sort of known as a redneck area. But it's quite diverse when you get in there, and you meet the locals. And at that time they were feeling ashamed of what had happened with the riots, and a lot of them had a lot to say about it. But I was still interested in just the dynamics of couples, and I also did some single shots. So that's them in the back of his car that he's doing up, and I think she was 3 months pregnant, and they were just newlywed. This woman, Adele, asked me to do a shoot. She said a cat-like fairy shoot, and sort of very vague, but she went into a box of tricks and what she had, and I kind of liked the fish in the background, the cat, and then she put these fairy wings on and the red dress. And yeah, she actually came along to the exhibition in the end and saw the work on the wall, and was quite happy with it. Another scary but interesting episode. A man answered the ad, Dean, and he said automatically he just thought it was porn photography. Not that I put that in the ad, but that's how he sees photography as it is. So I met him at a cafe, and when he started to talk, it revealed him. I'd never done anything like this before. What body preparations do I need to do? I said, well, it's not nude photography, or it's not porn or anything like that, but what do you want? Why did you answer this ad? And he's like, I want to feel free in the bush and go and have a nude portrait of myself. He'd had just recently broken up with his wife and out from another area and moved into the Shire, and he was really loving the Shire. So we were driving out in a car into the Royal National Park, and yeah, we did a shoot there quickly. Got out of it. And yeah, he has contacted me after the shoot and said, I want to do another shoot. So maybe this is something he'll continue. So then I saw it advertised for a photo workshop in New Zealand with Auckland Uni, and one of the photographers was Peter Hugo, and he just had a show at the Australian Centre for Photography called Nollywood, where he went to a Nigerian sort of Bollywood, Hollywood film series. So, and this was his next series with men. It was like a travelling circus, hyena men. And so he spent quite a long time going back and forth and just following these guys around, these big guys. They're not what I thought a hyena was like, but hyenas look like that. So he's a South African photographer, and a lot of his influences, listening to him talk, is he's influenced by German photography, American photography, but also Roger Ballen, which is another South African photographer. So I was very excited to hear that I'd won the residency at Dubbo. I'd never been out here, and it's not such a big drive from Sydney. And I'd done a proposal to Dubbo. At the time, I was working with a girl who was from the country, and she was showing me, I was thinking of my next series, what can I do? I'd done couples, but I wanted to really tap into sort of an area that I wasn't familiar with. And she started to show me hunting magazines. And, you know, I wasn't that interested in hunting, but I was interested in the fact that girls were doing it. And there was a small section in magazines that girls are posing with what they've caught. And I guess, yeah, I'm more interested in, more and more as it goes along, I'm interested in collaborating with females, and I don't know, maybe that will continue. I think it's a way of working that I enjoy. So I put the proposal in. I didn't know what response I'd get, and then we won the grant, and I was like, right, I've got to go out there and actually do it now. And I spent 2 months over February, March, and I did a similar process, putting the ads out. The gun shop was quite good in promoting the Game Council, and yeah, I got quite a good response. And I sort of didn't know really how to set up a shoot with animals and guns and everything. It was all a lot to deal with, and so I learned a lot. And these women are passionate about hunting. Maybe it's something they just do for fun on the weekends with their boyfriends, or, you know, they're serious shooters. And I went out, met them for their shoot, probably 2 to 3 hours, and then got the shot that they're both happy with. And this is a woman just out of Dubbo, with her pig dog and her horse in the background. But she's wanting to move to Sydney, and she's looking into doing modelling. But this dog was huge. Biggest dog I've seen. And that's the pig collar. And this was all quite foreign to me, and just having conversations with them, I'm really understanding what it is like to live in the countryside. This lady, Billy Jo, approached me to model as well, and she just had that baby 14 days before the shoot, and that was her boy as well, and we're on the top of this hill in a back paddock, and we were initially just doing shots of her, and then I became aware it was more interesting, and she was having to breastfeed in between the shoots, so I thought, well, we'll just get the whole family, and this is what her life is about, you know. It's not just about her. And another lady from Dubbo, and she said she was interested in modelling and also loved going hunting with her and her friends and her partner.